and welcome to the Nighthawk Racing and F1 RST Championship. Firstly, I'm Midnight. You can see myself and the rest of our other drivers here on our Nighthawk Racing YouTube, where you can check out the entire back catalogue of seasons 1 to 3 of the F1 RST series. Also, our mini-series and all one-off race events, all of which are highly competitive and lots of fun. Please check out our Instagram and TikTok for other content and races too. Link in the description or scan the QR dot for more information. But now, let's focus on the event at hand. So tonight is Season 4, Round 5, Blue Lobby here at Deep Forest. So a little more information on the championship. There are 10 events that you can see on our calendar in front of you now, which are divided up into red and blue lobbies. There are 2 racing events with a qualifying session for the big feature race itself. The sprint race tonight is 12 laps and at 80% fuel. The grid is formed via how drivers line up in reverse average points scored across the season. The feature race is 46 laps. All drivers must use 2 different tyre compounds while starting on the same compound they set their fastest lap in the qualified session just before. As a reminder, the blue lobby has all driver aids switched on, such as traction control, ASM and ABS, whereas the red lobby has all of these disabled with the exception of ABS for that true hardcore driving experience to really challenge our drivers.
Right, so while the drivers are getting to know Deep Forest, let's get to know Deep Forest as well and see if we can find a few facts about it. But Deep Forest Raceway is a fictional circuit that first appeared in the original Gran Turismo, if you had the pleasure of playing it. It's also featured in most of the games since, except GT Sport, but it has returned to GT7 with a slightly redesigned layout. It's 4.25 kilometers long, or just over 2.5 miles. And it is set in Switzerland. Obviously, it's known for its kind of thickly wooden forest around the track, with that back straight literally on the cliff edge. And like many original circuits, it incorporates several tunnels due to the high-speed nature of the track. Sports cars focusing on raw power are best suited for this course. So I think the NHR drivers will fit in right at home. But it features undulating corners, tight banked corners and long sweeping turns. It's a medium to high speed course, this one, and it is a favourite among GT players, not just for its scenery but for its deceptive difficulty to drive quickly. And obviously this is the first of 2. We are back at Deep Forest next week for the reverse layout, so let's see how the drivers got on. But before I hand you back over to the drivers to see how they got on in the sprint race, in the Gran Turismo, the track, like I say, was given an extreme redesign, with more barriers being added around the racetrack within the forested road. The most significant change is the addition of a much longer straight from the tunnel section, leading into a sharp downhill hairpin turn, which does catch quite a few drivers out. But let's go see how the drivers got on in qualifying and get into the sprint race.
And here we are for Season 4, Round 5, Blue Lobby Sprint Grid. So let's get started with P1, who will be leading us away today. And that will be Sparky in that Mclaren 650S. He had a bit of a lucky race last week out, but ultimately he held on and took the sprint race victory at Suzuka. So we're going to wish him the best of luck again here at Deep Forest. But in P2, we have our very own Sarah Hawkey, one half of the co-creators of Nighthawk Racing. And what can I say? She's going to be after a good result here, and wish her the best of luck today. In P3, we have one of our admin in Ziggy, some know him as Bila Dorada. However, you're going to see him on track in that gold, bronzy, red AMG. So good luck to Ziggy out there. He's been showing a lot of renewed pace and a lot more confidence as of late. In P4, we have the head of Hasutu Racing in Coach in that white and red Supra. which may very well be the go-to car around Deep Forest. Good luck to Coach, he deserves a good result today. And in P5 we have another one of our admin in Big Crazy Bertie in that McLaren 650S, and he's going to be wanting to put another McLaren on the podium here today. And Sarah, can you do the remaining cars for me?
Of course I can. So in P6 we have Koulios in the Honda NSX, looking for another good result here as well again tonight. In P7 we have a new face and a new addition to the Nighthawk Racing family, and that is Murphy. He has competed in TWR, so good to see him here, and hopefully he has a good race in that Toyota Supra. In P8 we have Super Simon in that McLaren 650S, looking to carry on his streak of good performances. And in P9 we have Kirk in the Dodge Viper, looking to use that Viper's power and get to the top and top spot of that podium, I'm sure. But yeah, what a grid we've got here tonight, midnight. I'm excited to see how everyone gets on, especially around Deep Forest. It can be quite twisty-turny, so may favour some cars over the others.
Yeah, as seen in the track guide, we know it's a bit of a tricky track, particularly in the first and middle sector, and even when you get out to the last sector with that big hairpin, it's going to create a lot of chances for overtaking, which a lot of these drivers, we're just going to say some are more prone to it than others, having a little bit of a launching moment up the inside. But you've got to be aware at this kind of track that this track promotes those kind of moments, so good luck to everyone out there. And as you said, this grid is an interesting one, and I have to say I'm going to be keeping a special eye out on Murph, who is joining us for his first Nighthawk Racing main event, and he is assimilated into the community nicely. But all in all, there's a lot of drivers out there that can take away a win or a podium here today, and let's keep an eye on all of them. And Kirk at the back, starting on the back of the grid, is incredibly fast, so good luck to him as well. But Sarah, anyone that you're going to be particularly keeping an eye on?
I've got to say either Kirk or Koulios. I know that they're eager to get onto the podium as quick as they can. Sometimes maybe go for those dicey moves to get them a position higher quickly, but normally obviously they race with respect, and I'm sure, like I said, they're eager to get onto that top spot of the podium as quick as they can. But you can't obviously write off Murph as well. He looked like he was quite fast in practice and in the qualifying session, so yeah, I'm excited to see how Murphy gets on. But I'm always rooting for Ziggy and Bertie, our admin as well, to do well. But let's see how Sparky also can get on, starting on pole again. Maybe that is lucky starting position, so maybe he could replicate what he did last week. And obviously he's running a special livery this week, so maybe it'll provide him with that extra bit of luck.
I look forward to seeing it. But with that in mind, I think it's over to the commentary team, and let's enjoy this Blue Lobby race. And here we are for the start of the Blue Lobby race, round 5 here at Deep Forest. Sparky will be leading us away in a rolling start, followed by Sarah, Ziggy, Coach, Bertie, Koulios, Murphy in his first race, Simon and Kirk. And here we go, lights are out, and into the first corner we go. Sparky taking a defensive line to begin with. Ziggy looking up the inside of Sarah at the first corner, thinking better of it to begin with, and so far all cars make it through. Kirk making up a position on Super Simon right at the beginning, and Sarah challenging from the lead straight away. So far so good, Pedro.
I agree, yeah. Oh, and Koulios getting a bit loose there, and Kirk was almost fancying a move around the outside of Murphy into turn 1 as well, so he's looking confident.
Certainly so, and Sarah has got into the lead. Sparky went wide in, I think, turn 5, and a little bit of a touch from Ziggy on Sparky into that right-hand flick. Sparky falling down the order down to 5th. That might be one for the stewards later on, but Ziggy up to 2nd, followed by Coach. Sarah streaking away at the moment. Sparky down to 6th, Koulios down the back straight in that Honda NSX, looking at the back of Bertie, and Bertie's come out of nowhere up to P4.
Yeah, opportunistic from Bertie, and Sparky unfortunately losing quite a few positions. He might lose another one to Murphy here.
Oh, and we've got...
goes up the inside. Ooh!
Yeah, a little bit of a touch, a little bit of a tangle there. We also had Coach getting a move done on Ziggy for P2. That Supra looking stupidly quick down the back straight.
Yeah, and Ziggy staying in the back of him, and once again Kirk benefiting from all of this. Now he's the one that was opportunistic, and he's up to P5 as well.
Oh, Ziggy trying back at Coach using that AMG power, and we've got Kirk making a move on Koulios with that Viper. Braking nice and late. Koulios running a little bit wide. Sparky still there in P6. Good action so far from this blue lobby group. And we see, I think it was Ziggy or Coach kicking up some dust in the third corner. But so far, Sarah, Coach, Ziggy, Kirk, Koulios in the top 5, followed by Sparky, Bertie down to P7, Murphy in his first Nighthawk race in blue lobby in P8, followed by Simon. All still together. The whole grid still together at the moment.
Yeah, this is really good to see. Some good racing so far. I mean, Kirk just having the first lap of dreams, really, going from last on the grid up to P4.
Yeah, he's definitely man on the move, as you say, from last on the grid, joining blue lobby on this one. Bertie seems to have stopped in the tunnel for some reason. Maybe he's got a mechanical issue. And just see Simon making a move for P7 on Murph, but maybe there was a bit of an incident there. That is a bit of a strange one. Either way, at the moment we can now see Coach and that Supra is on the back of the Sarah Hawkey, one half of our Nighthawk Racing founders, and here comes Coach for the move. Yeah, it's going to be down into turn 1. That power of that Supra is just too much around here. It's very hard to resist, but Sarah doing her best to do exactly that. Yeah, around the outside, holding her line. So far, so good, and this is where it's going to get twisty in the circuit. Sarah taking the inside for the right-hander, Coach will have it for the left, and Sarah again for the next right-hander. But this is bringing Kirk, who's got up to P3, followed by Koulios down the inside of Ziggy, so this whole group all together. Now we're in the twisty section. This is where the M6 comes alive a little bit. A little bit more difficult for the Supra, particularly that Viper. But a whole group from P1 to 5 in the same shot at the moment. Sarah now moving away, using that M6 grip. But now this is where that Viper and Coach, will we see Kirk and Coach work together?
Well, I mean, ideally they should, otherwise they might lose quite a lot of time to Sarah, even though both their cars seem to be quicker on the straights than the M6. What is Kirk braking late there? Ooh, trying around the outside.
He is, but Coach is very, very difficult to pass. And
on Koulios.
In that moment, we have seen Ziggy pull a spin out the final corner, so he's down to P6. Down to P7 now. Murph has got through, but Coach is very, very difficult to pass. He forced Kirk to the outside, and Koulios now nearly got down the inside of the pair of them. Back into turn 1. Sarah in the lead, trying to get away from this battle because she knows those two cars directly behind, are very, very fast in the straight line. But Koulios sticking with them, all of these drivers on the medium tyre, trying to get to the end. So Sarah, Coach, Kirk, and Koulios all in a row. Well, the question is, Pedro, who do we think is going to come away with the moral victory in this one?
Oh, I mean, I think Kirk so far has done the most impressive race, obviously going from back of the grid, getting away from any sort of incidents, making the most out of his opportunities, and Koulios, oof. He's a big hit there. Yeah,
that looks like a little bit of a touch from Koulios on Kirk. Let's put both of them a little bit out of sorts, but let's put Sparky onto the back of Koulios as he's fallen back, and let Coach get away, who's now back in the slipstream of Sarah. And Sarah about to take, still in the lead, running a little bit wide, but hopefully taking her 4th lead lap in a row. But she's going to have Coach accompany down to turn 1, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. We know how quick that Supra is on the straights. And Sarah, without having the slipstream of another car, it's going to make it very difficult for her to defend.
Yeah, Coach to the inside, thinking better of it. He's a gentleman racer, our Coach, and thinking better of it, choosing life on this one. But it's definitely going to put him at a disadvantage coming into the second half of this first sector, where it gets twisty. It's very hard to pass in here. Sarah looks like she had a little bit of a wobble coming through that right-hander. and it's now forced Coach back a bit and put Kirk right on the back of Coach again. So these three, absolute nose to tail all the way around at the moment. And it does look like Koulios has fallen off a little bit, with Sparky just behind, Murph in P6, Ziggy in P7, Simon P8, and Bertie circulating again, but catching up back to Simon. So down the back straight, I can only think this is where the superpower really kicks in that slipstream. Down the back straight, Sarah going defensive early, forcing Coach to the outside, but that's going to put Kirk in the slipstream of that super as well. So you could see Sarah lose 1, maybe 2 places quickly. But saying it, Sarah holding
Kirk did break a little bit later there.
Yeah, you got to watch out because you can. Whoa,
Kudos got a better exit.
Yeah, and Kudos with a power slide out the final hairpin. Then it looks like Kirk has gone around the outside of Coach, where after that attacking move, Coach failed. So that puts Kirk up into P2. Now it's still Sarah in the lead, followed by Kirk and Coach. There might be a freeway pass into turn 1. Kirk taking the lead, Coach into P2, just about. Then Sarah's going to be on the outside, which is going to be the inside for the next corner. So Kirk's taking the lead. Yep, Coach up to P2.
Oh, my goodness.
Sarah relinquishing the lead, and now puts Koulios on the back of Sarah, with Kirk up into a clear P1 at the moment, followed by Coach. Koulios round the outside. That is a brilliant move. Great driving from the pair there. Sarah knowing when the corner is lost, but hopefully can get a big haul of points and a solid result. This is going to leave Kirk and Coach battling for the lead down the back straight. So Kirk getting 2 places in 1 lap there from the back of the grid. You can see Kirk is on fire today.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was just going to add as well, Sarah had a massive slide before the first tunnel, and the save she made in order to keep the car pointing the right way was super impressive. But yeah, Kirk making his way up to P1, that was... he's doing really well in this race. He's been keeping out of trouble, buying his time, knowing when to go for a move. And yeah, he's being rewarded with the lead of the race and the fastest lap at the moment as well.
That is pretty impressive from Kirk from the back of the grid, you have to say. Great racing from Coach, Koulios and Sarah as well. Sparky has picked up a half-second penalty, but still running a strong P5, but being close up on in the other Supra by Murph, who is, as we said, in his first Nighthawk Racing event, and so far showing pretty well. Kirk and Coach look like they are settling into a bit of a rhythm now. And Kirk trying to stretch his legs and stretch the legs of that Viper in P1. But I have to say, it's been great driving from all the 4 top drivers so far. Great close racing. Quite impressive so far, Pedro.
I completely agree, yeah. Especially during those first few moments where the pack was quite close. Obviously it does require a little bit more concentration and awareness, and everyone was doing pretty well. But yeah, it has been a really good race so far, and honestly, I think everything is still to play. Like, I'm not really sure if we can, think about one possible winner only.
Yeah, and we have Murph in that Supra trying to make a move on Sparky in the McLaren. McLaren isn't entirely happy around here, particularly the setup in the straight line. Sparky maybe a little bit rudely cutting off the line there for Murph, but we'll both get round to survive another day. But Murphy has definitely lost a little bit of pace down that back straight. We do know that McLaren is brilliant on tyre wear, so Murphy's going to have to try and get the move done before tyre wear becomes a factor in this race.
Yeah, at the moment, both of them driving pretty smoothly, I'd say. Murphy, in particular, seems to have better tyre wear at the moment. But yeah, good awareness from him as well. Obviously, seeing as his line was getting a little bit closed down, yeah, good awareness from him to obviously have the lift and yeah, keep going. The back straight, I'm sure another opportunity will arise. They're both pretty matched up in terms of pace, and a small mistake can be everything he needs to to challenge Sparky again for that 5th place.
Quite agree. Keeping an eye on out the front, it does look like Coach is hanging with Kirk rather well, and we do see that Coach has much better tyre wear than Kirk himself. And Sarah with a spin coming out of the hairpin.
No!
But it's only a half spin, only a little bit of damage, gets going again in P6, but she's going to have Ziggy for company. So, fortunately for Sarah, down to P6 from P4, and we have another battle for Sparky and Murph. Murph has got through somewhere in the middle of that incident from Sarah, but we can see Sparky coming back at Murphy there. Unfortunate for Sarah there, Pedro, but at the end of the day, still facing the right way, and might well still be in for a good haul of points.
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate as she was doing very well. Obviously, in these sprint races, it's a little bit harder to recover if you make if you have one of those sorts of moments. But I think she should still be proud of herself. She was doing pretty well up until this point, and obviously, there's always a feature race to go. But I just wanted to quickly highlight the overtake from Murphy at the hairpin on Sparky. Which was absolutely sublime, just undercutting him and getting a better exit out of the corner. Really impressive move from Murphy. Up to P4.
And Sparky with a sprint win last week in the blue lobby as well. So we can definitely say Sparky is on lots of good form at the moment. But at the moment, I'm keeping a particular eye on Coach, who is moving in on Kirk, who had set the fastest lap and then had a bit of a slow lap in lap 8, and this battle for the win is not over yet. Koulios running P3, Murph up to P4, Sparky still running P5, and Sarah in P6 with Ziggy P7, Bertie P8, and Simon in P9. So at the moment, it has settled down a bit, Pedro. Can we call who's going to pick up the win for this race? I mean, that is where my eyes are going at the moment. It does look like Coach is on a rich vein of form, and he wants to catch Kirk. I mean, you can definitely see that Supra is looking a bit more stabilised in the middle sector, but obviously come that final sector, we know that Viper is incredibly fast down the back straight, which is where you're going to be trying to pass a car, of course.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be easy. As we've seen as well, this track doesn't seem like it has a lot of overtaking opportunities. So you're obviously, in this track more than others, probably you're going to have to be at your absolute perfection, or reaching close to perfection, in order to be able to capitalize on a possible mistake from the car in front, and then looking to go for a move. I mean, ideally, if I was coach, I try to obviously stay as close to Kirk as possible and get his slipstream up until the final lap and then go for a move. But obviously, if the opportunity arises before that, should obviously go for it. But as we know, Kirk is not easy to get past, and that Viper has some really good strength that can obviously complicate that overtake.
Quite agree. It looks like Coach had a bit more of a scruffy lap that lap. He was down to a 27.8 with Kirk running at 27.3, but it's
to be recovering.
Yeah, they are sort of trading laps between them, but like you said, you kind of don't want to pass Kirk early because he's just going to come flying past you in that Viper with that top speed. Koulios with a near barrier here, they're just about getting away with it, but still running P3 at the moment. He might have Murph for company, but Murph picking up a half-second penalty somewhere in the first sector with Sparky in P5, so it does look like we might well have nailed on Koulios for a podium, but coming into the final lap, I think Kirk maybe he's just holding Coach in the right area at the moment. It's going into the final lap. I think Kirk's just got to send it on this lap, make sure that Coach can't get anywhere near him in that final braking zone at the hairpin.
Absolutely, and you can just see just how good that Viper is in terms of traction and acceleration out of the hairpin, and you combine that with a really good top speed as well, and it's Coach is really gonna have to pull off an outstanding lap in order to be able to get past Kirk, I think. It's not going to be easy.
If he's going to do it anyway, he's going to... Well, if Coach is going to get anywhere near close enough to Kirk, he's going to have to absolutely send it in the first and second sector, which you can see
Exactly.
He's trying as hard as he can right now. And he is closing up on Kirk quite significantly.
He definitely is. He's taking the advantage that the Supra seems to have over the Viper on that sector. And will he be able to challenge for moving to the hairpin?
Kirk's going to have to be squeaky clean. He does pick up a little bit of dirty tyres, and he does come up sideways out of the final corner before the back straight. And this is where it's all going to count for Kirk and Coach. Going to have to keep an eye on that braking zone. Will Kirk go defensive?
Oh, he's not going for it.
Coach is seasoned enough not to go for a move if it's not on, but Kirk was very tentative on the brakes, and Coach basically runs into the back of him. But at this point, it's just plant it and head to the victory for Kirk. Despite the slipstream, I don't think Coach is going to get this one. Kirk is going to pick up the win. There he goes. Kirk crosses the line, followed by Coach in P2. Koulios picking up a solid podium for the sprint race in P3. Seems to be collecting sprint podiums at the moment. Murph in his first ever Nighthawk Racing race picks up P4 in the sprint. Sparky will come home in P5. Sarah almost closing in, but takes P6. Ziggy P7. Bertie had pitted in the previous lap or so for some soft tires, hoping to steal the final point for the fastest lap. Will he get that on this final lap for him? We'll find out very soon. And Simon will be coming home P9 with a little bit of damage, possibly in the final tunnel sector there. We're going to keep some eyes on Bertie. McLaren not perfect for this course, but can he steal a fast lap on those soft tyres? Oh, not quite. 27.9. Personal best. It was Simon coming home in the third McLaren in this lobby, taking P9 and some good points for championship positions. Well, Pedro, that was an interesting one. Great drive from a few of the drivers out there. What do you think?
Yeah, that was an action-packed sprint race as we've been accustomed to in the blue lobby. Honestly, I must say the first couple of laps, absolutely phenomenal racecraft from everyone, just to be able to stay concentrated and aware enough so that everyone would be able to, stay as close as they were. I mean, I think the highlight is just Kirk going from last to first, absolutely dominant. Well, I'd say dominant in terms of the way he made his way up the pack, but the finish was obviously very close. And I can only wonder if we had an extra couple of laps, if Coach would be able to maybe steal a win. But yeah, really impressive driving from those two. I'd say obviously a few unfortunate moments for Sarah, Bertie and Ziggy, but I think they did very well for themselves and they should be really proud. Koulios, just a really solid performance, as you said, for getting that podium. Yeah, great introduction to Murphy as well. Getting that P4 is always a good result, should give him some confidence going into the feature. And yes, Sparky as well with a solid P5. I must say a shout out to Simon. He was keeping up with the pack quite well at the beginning. And yeah, in the track that is not necessarily one of the easiest, I think he did very well for himself and he should be proud as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with all of that, quite frankly. I do wonder if, yeah, like you said, if there'd been an extra couple of laps, although this is the sprint, if Coach could have put some more pressure on Kirk. I mean, there was quite a lot of pressure there, but the sprint has definitely worked in the favour of Kirk today, who worked his way through the field beautifully, picking his moments when to pass, and we didn't really see anything in the way of contact or anything untoward, so good clean driving from both Kirk and, to be fair, the rest of the field. That was a pretty damn good viewing from my perspective, and well done to all the drivers in there. And what can we say? great to see Sarah leading a race as well. I think that was 5 laps in a row, almost taking what could have been considered the best drive of the season so far for her. And we got to see Koulias pick up another podium. Again, seems to be collecting them. But the top 2 today putting on a really good display in that sprint. But right now, I think that puts us in the area of getting ready for the feature race. But first, let's go and have a look at how qualifying panned out.
Right, so here are the qualifying results for the Blue Lobby here at Deep Forest. And in pole position, we've got Koulias with a 1:26.107, setting that time on the soft, so looking blisteringly fast out there. So hopefully, he'll be in for a good race. In P2, we have Kirk in that Viper with a 1:26.446, setting that time on the mediums, so very close to Koulias' times. Obviously, he'll be starting on the mediums, which will kind of help for longevity in the that first stint. So maybe Kirk on the prime strategy here. But in P3, not too far behind the top 2, we have Coach in that Toyota Supra, setting the time of a 1:26.853, setting that time on the mediums. And in P4, again, the new face to Nighthawk Racing, Murphy as you may know him from TWR, setting a time of a 1:27.073. And in P5, before I hand you over to Midnight to run through the rest of the grid, we have our very own Ziggy Zigstar in that Mercedes AMG, setting his time on the soft set of tyres with a 1:27.204.
Spot on, thank you very much, Sarah. And that will take us to P6, where we have our very own Sarah Hawkey, setting her time on a set of soft tyres on a 1:27.608. So going to be looking to take that M6 up to a good result here today at Deep Forest. In P7 we have Bertie in that McLaren on a 1:28.171, qualifying today on the medium tyre. And in P8 we have Sparky in the other McLaren on a 1:29.635, also on the medium tyre. And in P9 in the other McLaren we have Super Simon on a 1:30.368, also on the medium tyres. Well, Sarah, that was what looks like an awesome qualifying, particularly from Koulias and Kirk, and well, even Coach, to be fair, the top 3 in what would seem prime position for a very good result here today.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Obviously, they put in the hard work in the qualifying session and the practice sessions, and that really does reflect on their times as well. I wouldn't write off anyone starting off behind them, because obviously we know turn 1 round here, it is very kind of tight, and if you don't get it right, anything could happen. But yeah, I'm excited to see how everyone gets on. But a great qualifying across the board for everyone, and hoping for just as good as a race.
I would agree, and I do have a little quick stat for you. Koulias' time there would have put him in the red lobby in 5th ahead of KD Nakai. So that is a outstanding time from the young Englishman. So keep an eye out for him, particularly in the race. He's definitely got the pace today, and to be a big threat to the establishment and maybe sneak a win. But with that in mind, Sarah, I think it's time to go over to the feature race and join our commentary team.
Yeah, let's get stuck into the action.
And here we go, it is time for the feature race for the Blue Lobby, round 5. 5 lights out and off we go. Koulias and Kirk both getting good starts. Kirk a little bit sideways off the line, but no issues so far. Sarah and Ziggy side by side, and there's definitely been an incident, and that's caught up. Coach rather badly. That's going to be some big damage for Coach on the left hand side. Looks like Murphy went into the back of him, and I think Bertie was mixed up in that as well. Bertie looks like he has gotten away with just a little bit of front end damage. Murph, no damage, but back to the front. Koulias away on those soft tyres, followed by Kirk and Sarah. Pedro, did you get an eye view of what happened there?
Yes, so I think Murphy went a little bit too hot, broke quite late, and ended up collecting Coach in the process. And then as coach got spun round, Bertie just had nowhere to go and ended up hitting him as well.
Unfortunate, and that's not what coach is going to be looking for in the championship. He is currently fighting sort of mid-pack at the moment in 17th, but he's going to be wanting to climb up. And Sparky on those medium tyres and that McLaren on the back of Ziggy on the soft tyres. So Sparky having a pretty damn good opening lap so far, fighting with that AMG. But out front we do have Koulios making use of those soft tyres and streaking away, but followed by that Viper in P2, driven by Kirk. Sarah in P3, having a good race so far. And again, Ziggy, Sparky, Simon running P6, pretty damn good for him. Followed by Bertie, who's coming into the pits early to fix that damage. So leaves Coach out with a little bit of handling damage on that front left corner, followed by Murph. So at the moment, it's going to start settling down now. Sparky's still on the back of Ziggy, with Kirk keeping a watchful eye on Koulios in P1. So Sparky, he is getting that McLaren into places where you'd think on the medium tyres it shouldn't be. Sparky's driving well at the moment, Pedro.
Yeah, very well, obviously, and having Ziggy in front of him and Sarah, who were 2 out of our 3 soft runner starters. Soft starters, sorry. Yeah, he's doing a pretty good job. So at the moment we have Koulios, Ziggy and Sarah, as I've mentioned, on the softs, everyone else on the mediums. I'm curious to see, because Sparky seems to be quite racy now. He's challenging really well, obviously, on that special livery, the Vodafone McLaren kind of vibe, which I must say probably one of my favorite liveries in terms of Formula 1 cars. And yeah, really good to see him make that design. Looks really good.
Yeah, I quite agree with you there. That sort of era of the late 2000s, early 2010s McLaren, so definitely in the right place, that livery, and it's good to see some really good one-off liveries out there. Bertie's back out again on a undamaged McLaren, and I think a fresh set of mediums, so that's going to put him off, I think, off strategy a little bit, but hopefully he can settle down and get some good laps in. Koulios taking initiative out in P1 at the moment, set at 27 flat in that NSX, so he's pushing quite hard, but you've got to say Kirk setting a 27.2 on the mediums, hanging with Koulios rather well. Sarah running a good race in P3 at the moment, and like you said, Sarah and Ziggy in the top 4, both running those soft tyres at the moment, going to be looking to make inroads as far as they can. Ziggy picking up a half-second penalty, running wide at that final left-hander before the back straight. That's going to be unfortunate. You don't lose too much time around here. It's often the lap after, and Sparky doing exactly the same, but you don't seem to lose too much time around here. But that will hinder Ziggy in attempting to catch and pass the BMW driver of Sarah Hawkey.
Ideally, you don't really want to get a penalty. I know it's heading towards the braking zone as well, as you said, which kind of mitigates the time loss you'd probably get. But yeah, still not ideal as he's chasing down Sarah. He's really going to need to do a really good lap in order to obviously compensate for that penalty.
Oh, move from Coach from a country mile back. That was committed on Simon there. So Coach feeling racy, maybe driving angry, now trying to catch up to the rest of the pack there. But it's good to see Simon involved in these battles, and he's getting a bit racy with Murph as well. But Murph picking up a half-second penalty, cutting across the grass there. It will happen. Coach, again, looking racy, trying to recover. Back in P6 now, looking to recover up towards the podium later on perhaps. So, Coach definitely looking racy, followed by Simon, also looking racy today. It looks like he's going to be fighting Murph into the final, left before that back straight. Murphy getting the pass done though, but he's still going to have to serve that half-second penalty, Pedro. But as we said, it's not too bad round here, serving a penalty, but that probably will let Simon back through come the braking zone.
Yeah, I do believe on the reverse layout the penalty line is it's a little bit harsher in a sense because you're starting to obviously accelerate, but in here, as you're going into the braking zone, it's obviously not ideal, but not as bad maybe. Yeah, really good to see Simon racing, even though he's got that front bumper damage. He's still being able to hold on.
Yeah, quite right. And just spotting it out front, it looks like that Koulias might have had a little bit of a worse lap, or his tyres starting to turn. So he dropped a tenth to Kirk in the last lap, but he ultimately dropped 6 tenths off his own personal best with that front right. Looked like the wear is now starting to kick in, so I think we're going to start seeing Kirk close in for the lead shortly, and we can just definitely see the soft tyre runners starting to think, ooh, these tyres aren't feeling great anymore, so that's going to put particularly Sparky and Kirk in prime position to run in the first and second, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. If they keep going at this rate, I think they're managing their tires quite well. Ziggy and Sarah as well, I must say, in terms of the soft runners, they're doing better compared to Koulias. That NSX seems to be wearing out the rear tires a lot more. But yeah, obviously, I think they really need to maximize the performance of those tires in the upcoming laps, and hopefully they can create just a big enough gap that it can obviously benefit them later on, even after they've made the pit stop.
I would agree, and we can see Sarah and Ziggy lapping very similar speeds as well, so basically the low 29s, so good equivalent pace from the pair of them. But I'm impressed at the moment with Coach running in P6. He's doing a 27.8 on those medium tyres with that front left suspension damage, so it's going to not slow the car down too much. It's going to make handling, I'm going to say, awkward, but he's doing well. He's only half a tenth off the fastest first sector purple time of the race, so Coach showing his raw skill at the moment, the header for Sutu Racing, and he's going to be making his way back up to the front with that pace.
Yeah, I think it must be said as well, Coach has been quite unlucky in a few races this season, but he's always resilient and always willing to fight back to get a good result. And you can clearly tell by the way he's driving, he's still got pretty strong pace. Somewhat kind of matching not this lap now, that Koulias just set the fastest lap. But some of our top drivers are also in the 27s on the mediums, so he's definitely still looking for a good result. There's a lot of laps left to go on this race. I'm looking forward to see how his race unfolds.
Ziggy there, just taking half a second out of Sarah.
Yeah,
you spotted
out
something?
ahead. I think Koulias has made a mistake out ahead, and he's Kirk has somewhat caught up to him a little bit more.
Yeah, and after setting that faster lap, like you pointed out, it only takes one mistake, and then you ruin all of that time that you've just gained, particularly when you start getting tyres which are nearing the end of their life. You start becoming a lot trickier, and those barriers seem to get a lot closer very quickly, don't they? You can see in P3 Sarah, who's now got Ziggy for company, so a couple of battles brewing, it would seem. Kirk looks like he is closing in on Koulias, who's now starting to slide coming at those final corners. Like you said, that's NSX with a lot higher tyre wear than some of the other soft runners, and Koulias starting to struggle on those soft tyres, with Kirk closing in, looking like he's got that Viper tuned in. Will he go for a move into the first corner, or is he going to hold it off for another lap? Thinks better about it. Oh, a late lunge. Ooh. Very late lunge. That was almost like an avoiding pass. Kirk flashing his lights, maybe saying sorry, but he got the pass done. That may be one for the stewards if Koulias feels like he was aggrieved on that pass or not. But Kirk definitely committed into that one, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely. He had to. I thought he was going to commit to the move a bit sooner, but I think he got a little bit caught off guard with Kyrgios's breaking point. Obviously, with him being on worn softs, he's gonna have to be a little bit more cautious. Um, but yeah, I think it was still good enough that they avoided the massive collision. Good to see them both still within striking range of each other to keep on battling. But yeah, you can see particularly Kyrgios around the left-hander that leads onto the back straight. He's really struggling for grip now.
Yeah, you can tell he's got to be pitting this lap or next in all reality. But Kyrgios running very strong, but you can see he's been kind of let down by the tyres, not particularly his own skill. Well, to be fair, he just cut the corner there a little bit, but he's gone for another lap. We've got Sarah and Ziggy quite close together, I think. We're going to see one of them pit this lap or next. Sarah goes round again, and Ziggy goes round again as well. The soft tyre runner's choosing to go to at least lap 9. Sparky now, he's got to coach for company, and we know that Supra is on fire with that pace despite the damage. So, what can I say? It's settled down now, Pedro, but I think there's still some battles to come. And we can see Simon has been passed by Bertie as well. So Bertie recovering after that first lap incident. But Simon with quite a lot of front damage. So unfortunately had some incidents somewhere around the track.
Yeah, unfortunate for Simon, as I think he's doing a solid race. But obviously that front damage is going to be quite limiting, especially when there are so many corners, so many twisty, complicated corners around this track. It's not going to be easy for him. But I think he's holding on, doing quite a good job for himself. And Kyrgios, that was very close.
Yeah, he got under the rear wing of Kirk, and then looks like maybe misjudging his braking or the braking ability with that slipstream, but got away with it just about.
Still going out for another lap.
Yeah, he likes to push his luck. He likes to push his luck with the tyres. But we're going to have to keep an eye on Kyrgios this lap, because that NSX, when it gets low tyre wear, becomes a little bit awkward. We've got Ziggy and Sarah both pitting at the same fuel load as well. Now you can just see Kyrgios power sliding that NSX out. He's losing loads of time to Kirk now, but it's to be expected on these worn tyres. But if you remember back, I think it was Sardinia sprint race, as soon as we saw those rear tyres, the NSX go off, that car becomes an absolute handful. So you have to be careful on this lap.
Yeah, and just as a quick side note as well, just to emphasize how much on par Sarah and Ziggy have been, their lap times for lap 7 are only split by 1 millisecond.
That is going to be a battle that goes longer into this race, I feel.
I think that's absolutely fascinating. Yeah, they're doing pretty well so far. Obviously, being 2 out of the 3 soft runners, they got their mandatory.
Yeah, once they've got the mandatory pit stop out of the way, they move on to the second compound, and that satisfies that rule for the race.
Exactly. Oh, Ziggy a little bit loose there on the rear.
Kyrgios in.
It's Kyrgios. Yeah, surely he had to go in. Those tires were not looking good.
And somewhere on the track, Coach has gotten past Sparky. So Coach up to P3, which will soon be P2. And I do feel, with the pace that Coach has got, it's going to be now a race between Coach and Kyrgios for that second place. Kirk at the moment looking like he's got this race under control. But where will Kyrgios come out in relation to Sarah and Ziggy, who are nose to tail coming through the final corners?
Yeah, I don't know, Kyrgios is fueling, and I think he's going to go for another set of softs. Oh no, those are mediums, okay.
Yeah,
so it doesn't go full tank. He still has a little bit of a gap to Sarah and Ziggy. I'm quite surprised.
He's done well.
To see that he's done quite well, yeah. He's done quite well for himself.
It looks like he is opting for a slightly shorter middle stint, going for those medium tyres. It's going to be longer than the first stint, but a slightly shorter stint than the drivers behind him. So have to see if that works out well for him. But we do know going for less fuel load equals less tyre wear. So maybe he's thinking he needs to protect those medium tyres on this middle stint. As he does power slide it again, but maybe he's protecting those tyres with the less fuel load and controlling the tyre wear that way. But the battle on track at the moment, we have Ziggy right with Sarah Hawkey. So these two looks like they're going to be fighting to the end, perhaps. Still a long way to go, but we'll have to see how this pans out.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle to look out for, possibly until the end of the race. I just wanted to quickly highlight as well Murphy. We haven't mentioned him in a while, and he's doing quite a solid race so far up into P4. And the other Supra driver, sorry, in Coach in P2.
Yeah.
As we've been discussing, he's got really strong pace still on those mediums.
Yeah, quite right. And even with that damage, like we said, he is lapping pretty well in the mid to high 27s, only a couple of tenths off Kirk. But I'm going to mention Sparky running a very, very solid P3 at the moment. Again, has picked up a sprint victory earlier in the season, so we know he's very, very capable, but he is dragging the new driver, is it Murph, with him. So it looks like we're going to see some more battles from these rookies.
Yeah, must be noted as well that Sparky has got better fuel more fuel than Murphy at the moment, and his front tires are looking better, but his rears are actually looking worse than Murphy. So yeah, I mean, looking forward to see how their pace will compare in the upcoming laps, as it seems like Murphy's starting to catch up a little bit. Yeah, I'm just wondering how much of a difference there is going to be in the upcoming few laps, because we might have another battle happening very soon.
I would agree, and we did see Murph, who joined us on the non-championship event, the Radicals around Goodwood, who showed very, very well. This is his debut in the main F1 RST series, so doing himself proudly so far. Obviously, one minor incident to begin with, but we can forgive that in your first race, but that may be one for the stewards at the end of the day. But now we can see battle going on. Sarah and Ziggy for P6, but they have had their first stop already. So these two have known each other for quite a few years now, since the beginning of the pandemic back in 2020, and they've traded many a battle on track. So another one for the books. But it's safe to be said that both drivers in different cars, what they would have met each other in, and it's always an experience and a learning curve to get used to these cars. Even halfway through the season, you're still picking up tips how to make the car rotate, get the best speed and endurance out of these cars. So these two look like they're just going to be enjoying themselves out there.
I agree, yeah, and even in tracks with the same BOP, it's always a bit of always a learning process because of obviously the different track characteristics. The car doesn't seem to always behave the same. I felt that in a few tracks, but yeah, it's always fun to be able to drive a new car, maybe adjust your driving style, try to make the most out of the car's strengths, obviously, and try to counteract a bit of the weaknesses. Yeah, it's always a good experience. It's really good to see them battling at this moment for P6 and 7.
Well, I have an update. It looks like Murph had a bit of a bad lap on the last one, dropping a second or two to his best time, but crucially, Coach definitely dropped 4 or 5 seconds and has picked up some heavy front end damage. But he's going to be a little bit lucky in that he's only probably a few laps away, if he wants to carry on with a 2-stop strategy, from a pit stop. But he's going to have Sparky and Murph zero in on him. I can only imagine that he's maybe had an off somewhere in the first sector. That's the most likely place for it. Or will he come in early? No, he's going to continue going around as Koulios power slides round the final corner, currently in P5, but not treating those rear tyres very nicely.
Yeah, that was exactly it actually for both Murphy and Coach. Murphy had a bit of a moment at the exit of the corner that leads on to the end of Sector 1, and Coach just understeered and ended up hitting the wall in the corner prior to that. That's why he's got the rest of the front damage. But yeah, this surely throws a spanner in the works for him in his strategy. I'm sure he'll be able to find a way around it and make the most out of his performance, but it has certainly changed a few things on his strategy, possibly.
I would agree with that entirely. I've got to say at the moment, I'm rather impressed with Sparky running P3 in that McLaren, who is arguably chasing down Coach, so it is good to see. We have a few rookies in our field today, Sparky and Murph, who are doing very, very well and doing themselves proudly, but Sparky chasing down the seasoned professional of a Coach, so good to see in that McLaren, particularly in that livery that we have spoken about before. Otherwise, the battle, Sarah and Ziggy still going on. Looks like Ziggy has dropped behind a little bit, perhaps losing a little bit of time on the previous lap, but still keeping a watchful eye, wanting that next position on the point scale. But both hitting their apexes and following each other around at the moment.
I'm wondering if Ziggy picked up a penalty at some point during the previous lap. That might help explain the time difference. And as I can see, obviously they seem to be pretty much in terms of tire wear, but in terms of fuel, Ziggy seems to be slightly better this time round.
Also, just looking around the grid at the moment, well, Sparky looks like he's now got Murph for company, so there's a battle that's going to start picking up a little bit with Coach just in front of the pair of them. But I was just having a look at Kirk's pace. It looks like it's starting to go away now. That Viper not being too kind on the front tyres is going to make that car very difficult to rotate. So it looks like his pace is starting to wane a bit now. But that's to be expected on 16-17 lap old tyres in a Viper. But just behind Coach, because he's Sparky and Murph, they're going to start getting into it now, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk with a really consistent set of laps in this stint so far. It seems like his tires are a bit worse than other drivers around him, like Coach and possibly Murphy and Sparky, as we see Sparky actually going into the pits.
Yeah, that might be a tad early for a McLaren driver on the medium tyres, but maybe he is doing a strategy that we didn't predict. Maybe he's going triple softs. Might be seeing a free stop from Sparky. I guess we will find out in due course. But that puts Koulios back up into P4 in that Honda NSX. Sarah and Ziggy will go back through to P5 and P6. I'm interested to see what tyres Sparky comes out on. And will he come out in front of Bertie, who had that early pit stop to repair the damage? So Bertie a little bit out of sync here. Let us see where he comes out. So Sparky's going for a full tank. Bertie goes through.
Hard tyres.
Hard tyres. That is interesting. So that would put us in the realm of a 2-stop, but those hard tyres, they're going to be a bit solid. As we can see, Koulios has gone round.
Oh, he has, and he has picked up damage as well.
So yeah, that is a spin onto the back straight, the last place you want to be spinning. It's going to lose some time and aero downforce going forward. Sarah's definitely lost some time as well to Ziggy, who's now on the back of that M6. But the pair of them are going to be zeroing in on Koulios. That's a development.
Yeah, having an unexpected driver added to this battle, possibly in Koulios. It was unfortunate that he had that moment at the exit of the corner. He's going into the pits to repair that damage immediately.
Let's hope that he changes his tyres as well. We've seen in previous races, Kyrgios has just repaired damage and gone straight back out, which is no help to a strategy. Pedro, I mean, if you had an incident, would you change tyres and change strategy and adapt, or would you continue on with the same strategy and just repair the damage?
I possibly try to adjust my strategy. Might as well, since I'm in the pits, just take a new set of tires.
Yeah.
Maybe adjust my fuel as well accordingly, and yeah, get back on track. But it seems like Kyrgios has only pitted to repair the damage.
Yeah, that has been a pattern so far this season. If we can advise him on one thing, is rethink that reactive strategy. It's very good that he's reacted in the way and getting rid of the damage, but maybe not as good long term on running those older tyres still. But we'll see how that pans out for him. And I've just heard that sounded like Simon, unfortunately, clonking the barrier there. So that was unfortunate. But he won't be too long from a pit stop anyway, so you won't have to run with that for too long. Murph has come into the pits for his first stop. We are in that zone. Well, I think the medium runners are going to be wanting to get rid of those dying front right tyres, especially Kirk there with that Viper, that front right down to probably 10 or 15%. That's going to be handling a little bit more like a boat than normal.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to add another note to the Kyrgios strategy. I mean, I think I would have done what he's probably done here if I was a little bit earlier on in the stint with more fuel and a bit newer tires, fresher tires. But in his position, I probably would have just refueled and changed tires. But yeah, moving on from that, I did also spot that Coach, despite having all that damage, seems to be somewhat in the same ballpark as Kirk in terms of pace.
Which makes
as Kirk goes into the pits.
Yeah, and here comes Kirk for his pit stop, which makes me wonder about Coach's pace for long run once he gets rid of that damage. As long as he has a clean rest of the race, you might see him just start to zero in on Kirk with that Viper. You know it's not particularly good with tyre wear.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Coach might have to go win this lap as well because of that fuel, and he does.
Yeah, there he goes indeed. We might see Sarah Hawkey and Ziggy go up to P2, P3 respectively, with Kyrgios backing off out of the podium positions due to that spin and damage. But we can see Coach in the pits, changing those old tyres, getting rid of that damage. And Kirk's going to go for another full tank, it would look like. So is that going to be double mediums? I suspect he's going to come out mediums again.
Mediums.
Yeah, that's going to put him into the final quarter of the race, so long as nothing happens, and then softs to the end. Sarah takes P2 with Ziggy P3. Kyrgios running in P4 now, followed by, well, Coach is still in the pits. Bertie's going to pick up P5. Depending on where Coach comes out, this is going to be interesting. See where Coach rejoins the track. Bertie crossing the line.
He still has to repair that damage.
He does. So that might put him behind Murph
Ooh.
and Sparky. Oh, coming up basically side by side. Coach going to the medium tyres again. Murph went to the hards as well.
On the hards as well.
That's
yeah.
interesting. We didn't think we'd see the hard tyres here, Pedro.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's definitely an unexpected strategy, but it might be able just to guarantee that they can go on a set of softs with no trouble at the end if they also manage to do some fuel saving.
That is true.
To really maximize that. I'm just hoping that their pace is still good enough to be able to stay within a similar position, well, track-wise in terms of, yeah, a similar position track-wise coming the latter stages of the race.
I would agree. It's somewhere, I think Murph has gotten in front of Sparky, who was chasing him down for the longest time. But Sparky doing himself justice and running, although it says P8 at the moment, once all the stops filter out, particularly the last one, Sparky seems to run wide at the final corner to my eye. But he's making it work. Maybe he gets a good exit out that way. But we're now going to have to keep an eye. I think we have to keep an eye on Coach. Because now he's got no damage, he's going to have that speed unleashed in that Supra. And it can't be too long before Bertie is in the pits for his first scheduled stop. But will he attempt to go hards to the end or double softs? What do you think?
Oh, I mean, considering the sort of how well he manages these tires, he could easily go onto hard tires until the end, but it's not gonna be enjoyable, that's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, I've definitely seen Ziggy having a bit of a moment. It might have been Simon in front of him having a bit of a moment, because I saw one car that was really, really wide. But so, yeah, it looks like Ziggy has fallen back from Sarah somewhere. But we're now seeing Koulios join that fight for P3, so he's making those tyres work. Maybe he just wanted to stay on the... One thing, if you do it for tyres, it's an extra time to change those tyres, so maybe he thought, oh, Ziggy!
Oh!
Exploring the track limits, definitely getting his lawnmower prowess out of the way, cutting the grass there. But maybe Koulios thought with that tyre stop, not changing tyres would have cost him too much time. But he's making it work, and he's still catching up to Ziggy, who, not last lap before lap 20, lost about 3 seconds somewhere. So maybe another time penalty as Bertie has come into the pits for his first scheduled stop. And we're going to see what happens between Koulios and Ziggy. Bertie,
yeah, I have actually seen... Well, sorry to interrupt you there, but I have seen what happened to Ziggy. So around this same corner that he's going through now, so the second tunnel, just at the end of the first sector, he did have a bit of a slide, but he managed to get the car pointing the right way. Yeah, that's why he lost that little bit of time. But I'm also glad that he didn't pick up any damage from that, nor the close encounter with Mr. Barry there on the main straight.
Ah, Mr. Barry R.
Yes. Bertie went out on softs.
Maybe he is thinking 2 stops to the end, or really softs and mediums, who knows. But he is our local tyre whisperer, especially in that McLaren, so we'll see what he can do. Koulios on the back of Ziggy now, in that NSX versus AMG. This is going to get tight coming into the first corner. Koulios going to the inside, Ziggy to the outside. Doesn't look like Ziggy's fighting this too hard. But we can see they're on slightly different strategies. Koulios with the less fuel. Maybe Ziggy choosing life, letting Koulios go to fight another day, and then focus on the race pace towards the end. But Koulios getting that move done, up into P3, and now it sets off after Sarah.
Yeah, Ziggy tried to brake earlier, possibly trying to prepare his exit a bit better out of turn 1 and try to catch Koulios off guard, but yeah, he probably is aware that they are on different strategies at the moment. Basically, as you've mentioned, Koulios not having pitted to change his tires nor refuel when he got that damage, seems to be doing a good job as it stands. But obviously he's got higher tire wear than Z on the rears only, and a bit less fuel.
Well, it's going to be one that we might see another fight later in the race. But Koulios looking quick, 27.7 on the mediums. It's not slow by any stretch of the imagination. If anything, that's matching our leader at the moment of Kirk, who is pulling 27s in the Dodge on the medium tyre as well. So Koulios looking very, very quick. Just has to keep it pointed in the right direction, I'm afraid.
He's not too far off from Sarah at the moment.
Yeah, that pace is looking exceptional. Well, we can see Coach now, he's not too far behind that pack of 3 of Sarah, Koulios and Ziggy. Probably 10 or so seconds, but he is now running in the 27s regularly. And Murph looks like his pace is like the high 28s, low 29s, with Sparky also on that hard tyre, as well as Murph in the 29. So those 3 are spaced out a little bit now on different strategies. But we're going to see the battle on track, which will be building, which is Koulios and Sarah. Very much a love-hate story of overtaking and defending.
Yeah, they've had a really good story for on-track battles. Kyrgios, yeah, definitely seems to be catching Sarah at the moment, so hopefully if they do battle, that it is another good one to add to the record. It will certainly not be easy in terms of overtakes, as we've stated a few times. And they also don't want to be battling too much, because although Ziggy is not necessarily right on their rears, he is right there to pick up the pieces if anything happens.
Quite right, quite right. And if it's one thing to be said for both these drivers, they know each other rather well. Ziggy, sorry, Kyrgios. I was about to say, if there's a gap, he will go for it. And to be fair, there wasn't really a gap there, but he made it work. So well done, Kyrgios, on those brakes. Very, very confident and decisive. Sarah, I think, choosing life for certain, and I would say, oh, that's a bit of a drift.
I don't know. Oh, and she picked up damage as well.
That's unfortunate. Like you said, Ziggy there, ready to capitalise. Yeah, that looked like a little bit of dirty air, potentially upsetting the balance of that M6 from Sarah. That is unfortunate, but still pointing in the right direction, but that is going to leave her very exposed to Ziggy. But fortunately for the pair of them, it looks like they're not too far away from their next stop. But Ziggy will capitalise on that one.
It looks like Ziggy might try to get a move done here before the hairpin.
Yeah, Ziggy down the inside. Take it away, Pedro.
Yeah, and there he goes. He's up the inside. Sarah trying to hold on the outside here. Oh, they make a little bit of contact on the exits. I think Ziggy lets Sarah through for this moment in time. Kyrgios goes into the pits as he's obviously low on fuel. His tires aren't looking too good either. Obviously, he's been running on them for quite a while, which, all things considered, an impressive stint from Kyrgios.
Here comes Ziggy.
There he goes again up the inside. Oh, and he goes for it, he makes it work.
Yeah, looks like Sarah couldn't quite get the front end of that M6 into the corner with that damage. But good racing from the two, both of them having respect for each other and leaving each other room on the track. But now that will put Ziggy up into P2, running very high, very much rediscovering his form from previous seasons. And we can now see that threat of that Supra from Coach ahead of Fasutu Racing, I think, closing in lap by lap, heading up towards the podium. But Kyrgios, that'll be...
Mediums again.
Mediums again. Can he go to the end? 20 laps on a set of mediums. Whoa! He throws that car around, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely using an aggressive driving style, but as in terms of his strategy, I'm not sure, because he hasn't completely refueled. And I don't think it's definitely going to. It's not going to be easy to make those tires last 20 laps.
Yeah, that's got to be a 3 or 4 stopper when you include the pitting for damage earlier, Pedro. So
yeah, I agree.
I looking at it, I think with Kyrgios, he's a very, very rapid driver, but the strategy is letting him down somewhat. But that said, I think he can certainly. Oh, if you see a spin from Simon there, I think Kyrgios is still going to be a threat for the top 5, particularly when it all shakes out with just the raw speed that he's had today.
Yeah, I agree. If he manages to keep out of trouble, as you said, he should still be up for a good finishing position here, and do a bit of damage limitation. No pun intended. Yeah, it was unfortunate that he got involved in that situation, but yeah, it's a shame because he has pretty good pace today. I think he's really showing it, but it should probably favor him later on. I think
you might well be right.
Yeah, I think he's lapping around to almost 2 to 3 seconds quicker than the cars in front of him.
Yeah, that raw pace has been pretty damn good from Kyrgios. But I think we need to say something about our leader who's been pretty exceptional so far. Running in the 27s most laps, little blip here and there into the 28s, but his raw, solid pace. The consistency has been there from Kirk, who has led away from P2 on the grid and been sensible all race and got himself through that sheer consistency into P1, and now looks like he's just holding it there.
Yeah, I agree. Extremely well managed by Kirk so far. In terms of his pace, in terms of his strategy, yeah, if he keeps going like this, then I think it's going to be extremely difficult for someone to catch up to him. He's been absolutely unstoppable today.
I would completely agree. Now we are definitely entering the zone of the race where drivers can, if they have fulfilled the requirement to run 2 different sets of tyres, that they might be thinking, hit soon in this lap or next lap and go to the end. Lap 28, only 18 laps from the end, so that is definitely within range of a 2-stop. But we can see that Supra behind Sarah closing in. That is quite ominous.
Yeah, I think Coach is around 5 seconds now behind Sarah. And yeah, in terms of Sarah, obviously it was extremely unfortunate that she lost the car. I think she's coming in as well.
Yeah, that both drivers must have forecast that one. Both drivers coming in the pits, what looks like their final stint, and they're going to be going medium tyres to the end. But we have to say, in this track, the undercut, so going to fresh soft or fresh medium, whatever they go to, is quite powerful around here. So we'll see these drivers pick up their pace again towards the end of the race. But we're going to have to keep an eye on drivers such as Coach and Murph, Sparky and Koulios to see what they do with regards to Ziggy and Sarah's strategy.
Simon also goes in. He's coming out to repair his damage and getting a new set of mediums, I think. Yeah, it's obviously Ziggy and Sarah. It's a shame that obviously Sarah got that damage as well, because not only we were a bit deprived of a battle between her and Ziggy for a few more laps. Oh my, that was close.
And that is our leader, Kirk, coming out side by side with Sarah. And there may have been a few words or gestures traded there. That was unfortunate. But no harm, no foul at the moment. They've carried on. That was unfortunate timing. That might ruin Kirk's rhythm for a lap or so.
Yeah, good that they didn't get involved in a serious incident there. As I was saying, obviously Sarah had to deal with that front bumper damage for quite a few laps, lost a bit of time to Ziggy. But yeah, I think they should both be really proud of themselves. They were doing a really good race. They were so evenly matched. It was super impressive. I think that stat is going to stay on my mind for a while. The fact that on the same lap they were only their lap times were only split by 1 millisecond it is really incredible. Yeah, hopefully, still a few more laps left to go, so anything can happen. As you've said multiple times, one mistake around here can be quite costly, but you also have to be there to make sure you capitalize on those opportunities.
Quite right. And interestingly, Bertie has brought himself back into play, although he's been out of sync. He's still got some life left on those soft tyres. 16 laps to the end. If he can get those tyres another 2 or 3 laps, he might be able to go soft again to the end. So he's going to be pretty rapid in the final sector of the race. And otherwise, keeping an eye. There's various strategies at play here, Bedro. We've got Kirk, who he's just consistent out front and I think frankly enjoying himself. Coach, who is fought his way up to P2, but he's still got to go for his second set of compound tyres. So he's going to be...
him and Kirk.
Yeah, the pair of them are going to be extremely fast at the end. and Murph and Sparky both running hard tyres on a long stint, so running quite close together. Sparky and Murph are two rookies here today, being chased down by Koulios, who I think also still has the bit again. So I would say all of the top 5 still have to pit again, unless Koulios decides he can turn down the engine and coast it to the end, with Ziggy and Sarah in the top 8, both having pitted for the final time, it would seem.
Yeah, I think in terms of Koulios as well, it's quite a viable strategy, I'd say, if he wants to put a lower power mode on his engine, particularly for the first sector. He might be able to save a lot of fuel that way. I guess we will have to see what he does, but at the moment he's looking lightning quick and ready to challenge Sparky for P4.
Yeah, you can just see the grip of those medium tyres in the NSX versus that McLaren on the hards, but Koulios definitely pushing the limits of what is a track limit there, and just about getting away with it, not picking up a penalty. But as we know, there's a gap. He's going. Oh, there isn't a gap. He'll go for it too. But going for that move to P4, Sparky not fighting it. Taking that wider.
A little bit deep there.
Yeah, Sparky seems to do that every lap. I don't know if that's his line or a mistake, but Koulios up to P4 on those fresh medium tyres, looking very, very quick. I wonder if it's going to be at the end Murphy versus Koulios for P3.
At the moment they are split by around 12 seconds. So we do know that Murphy will probably have to pit first just because of fuel. I must say he has pretty good pace considering he's on the hard tyres so far.
That is pretty impressive. 28s on the hard tyres in the Super. It's pretty good round.
Yeah, but Koulios is obviously looking very strong in terms of his pace. But I'm quite curious to see how he will see the rest of this race out. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, if you can keep it clean, keep it pointed in the right direction, keep that consistency good, we're going to see a good battle between Murph and his first F1 RST race, hopefully with many more on the horizon, and Koulios, who's now become a cornerstone of the championship and appeared in all races for at least Series 3 and 4 so far. It's good to see that. It's good to see that, and a lot of returning drivers from previous series as well, Pedro. So it's good that we're building a community here and seeing a lot of drivers enjoy themselves. Although Bertie will not be enjoying seeing that blue flag with Kirk coming up behind him on those medium tyres.
Yeah, I can only agree with you, and a shout out to all of our drivers who are making this league possible. Yeah, especially for showing us that they can be relied upon, and give their input in order to make this league a good experience for all of them. I think Bertie is going to move out of the way for Kirk there. He does. Into turn 1, lets him through nice and easily. Yeah,
Bertie showing his experience and just getting out of the way, not knowing his fight wasn't with Kirk, and letting those blue flags do their job. I did just see Sarah having a bit of a moment out of the final hairpin, gathered it back up and went again. Unfortunately, Simon having a very similar moment and ended up in the wall, so it just so sometimes you can have a little bit of luck getting away with it, and other times the wall, hello barrier, and then you'll pick up a little bit of damage. So I wonder when we're going to see Murph and particularly Sparky come in for a pit stop. Those two, they must be going softs to the end, surely.
I believe so too. I think we might see, at the moment, we might see Sparky pit first because he's got a little bit less fuel than Murphy. If we are basing solely on that. But they should be in an interesting position. Obviously Bertie as well still needs to pit. I'm wondering where he'll come out, and if he will be able to possibly cause an upset and steal some points off of everyone by trying to set the fastest lap.
2 points for the fastest lap in the feature race. And Bertie, if he can get another lap, maybe 2 out of that fuel load, he will be thinking, yep, soft tyres to the end, if not mediums, and be a bit more conservative. But he is our tyre whisperer, and he will be maybe pushing his luck a little bit. Looking around, oh, Koulios picking up a half-second penalty on the back straight. That's not going to help in his fight for the podium against Murph. But looking at it, eyeballing it, Koulios with that more fuel, he's gonna, if he has to pit again, he's going to have to spend a lot less time in the pits, as Murph somewhat early comes in. I thought he'd be going at least another 3 or 4 laps to get to those soft tyres.
Yeah, I'd say so too, to make those softs, yeah, just to maximize the performance on the softs. I do wonder if he's actually going to go for mediums instead, seeing he pitted this early.
We did see in testing that the medium is the more obviously durable tyre, but maybe he prefers the balance of it. We have seen drivers in this series, I can particularly think of Sophia, I think it was at Daytona in season 3, preferring the soft tyre, maybe in Dragon Trail. Anywho.
Oh, he went on to the softs?
He did go to the soft. Interesting. Very interesting. Maybe he thinks, maybe he knows he can get 11 laps out of that set of soft tyres, but he's come out right behind Kirk, who's on a mission today to lap as many people as possible. But Kirk obviously still to pit for the final time. But now we're going to see the true pace of that Supra on those soft tyres. Let's see what Murphy can do here.
Having that slipstream from Kirk going into the upcoming straights might play in his favour as well, in order for him to get a really good outlap and, yeah, possibly undercut Sparky. And I mean, yeah, it should put him in a really good. Well, I know he was already ahead, but obviously try to extend his gap to Sparky a little bit more. That's what I probably should have said. But yeah, that slipstream definitely unleashing the Supra. Kirk actually lets him through.
That's
letting Murphy unlap himself.
That is IQ 300 moment from Kirk there. Or maybe he wants to slipstream down to turn 1.
Could be. Either way, I think it's a really wise decision from Kirk. Because he knows Murphy is coming out on fresh tires. Kirk still has to pit again. So he might also want to obviously benefit from that slipstream, possibly do a little bit more fuel saving, so that when he pits, he won't have to spend as much time there, and obviously try to still keep a decent set of lap times up until his in-lap.
It is worth saying as well, as a reminder, the blue flag rule is you are allowed to unlap yourself, but if you do so, you must move away from the driver you are unlapping yourself again, so you are not disrupting the air with dirty air for long. It looks like Murph is fulfilling that, although he's picked up a half-second penalty in that pursuit, yeah. So that is going to ruin his attempt, not only at the fastest lap, but he's going to put him back into the clutches of Kirk. So he's going to have to be careful that shoes don't frown upon that with disrupting the air for the leader. But we are probably going to see Kirk come in this lap or next, I would imagine. But it does look like it is close between the two. I would personally classify that as Murphy not holding up Kirk, because Kirk has not got the grip in the slower corners to stay anywhere near Murphy. So that is a bit of a judgment call, but it is one of those you need to be aware of the rule and not abuse it. Sparky comes into the pits, gets rid of those hard tyres. He will definitely be going soft tyres to the end. Keep an eye on his lap time there as well.
Yeah, Sparky's final pit stop. I mean, I do wonder if he's... yeah, surely he has to go for the softs here, I think.
Yeah. And he's coming out behind Sarah. Where is Bertie? He's going to run the final corner. Sparky is going to be the lead McLaren here. Soft tyres, half tank to the end. He's going to be pushing. He's going to be relishing getting rid of those hard tyres, which feel like stone around here. So he's going to be enjoying those soft tyres and the grip they bring. He will be setting off after Sarah. Murphy still being shown. A blue flag.
Oh,
Ziggy! That is bad timing from Ziggy. That's going to put Sarah somewhere on his back. A little bit of damage from Ziggy as well on the front end. Sarah a few seconds back, but that might allow her to zero in on the AMG driver. That is unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I was about to start commenting on the fact that Murphy was actually closing down on him. He was the gap was about 4 seconds, and unfortunately Ziggy just losing the back end of that AMG onto that corner. We've seen it has caused a few upsets this race as well. Yeah, really unfortunate for Ziggy. He was having a really good race. But it might be Sarah's turn to capitalize on Ziggy's damage this time, rather than the other way around.
Right.
Kirk goes into the pits.
Yeah, Kirk with the pit stop. Murphy setting the fast lap on those fresh, soft tyres. And now I think we're going to be seeing a whole horde of drivers coming in for the final stop. Coach surely this lap. Yeah, it looks like a lot of the drivers are mirroring each other's strategies and whichever way round. It does look like double medium soft seems to be the optimum today, though we have seen medium hard soft. So it depends on what your car, what the setup is, what the profile for wear is. But Coach into the pits, he's going to be surely going for soft tyres to the end. Will he come out ahead of Koulios, who he's got to surely be thinking, yeah, he's going to have to pit again. He hasn't got the fuel to go to the end. But it's going to be an interesting one to see where Koulios, after his final stop, comes out in relation to Murph, who's now the fastest man on the track. But now, Coach finishes his pit stop, comes out behind Koulios. Yeah, but that's not really a fight on track at the moment.
Well, if anything, it should. If he plays this right, it could give him a really good shot at the fastest lap attempt if he manages to stay within Koulios' slipstream range.
Quite right, and that's 2 vital points for the championship, Andrew.
Yeah, I agree. As we know, Kirk at the moment, being this race leader, is in P9 in the championship, so he should be getting a really good amount of points to climb up the standings even more.
Quite right. And we have Koulios in P13 at the moment, with Coach in P17. All of these drivers are going to be getting a whole horde of points today and jumping up the championship. 2 points can make all the difference come the end of the season, particularly if Coach, at where he is now, gets that slipstream down the back straight and into turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, if he manages to somewhat keep this gap the same, or just as I've stated before, around the slipstream range of Koulios, this upcoming lap could be crucial in him obviously attempting to challenge for that fastest lap.
But we're also going to have an eye on Kirk as well, who has been nothing but near perfect today. Picking up the sprint win earlier on, he's now going to be hunting down for that fastest lap points in the feature race as well. But I'm still going to have to see. Do you know what? Without saying it's the top 3, I think the fight for the fastest lap is between the top 4. Murphy currently holding it. Coach is going to be rapid now, and Koulios, I think he's still going to have to pit and maybe still go to soft tyres again. Yeah. So keep an eye. As Koulios lights up those rear tyres, you can see that NSX doesn't like being worn rear tyres. But yeah, I think you called it right. Coach with that slipstream. It's going to get close coming down to the hairpin, but if he times it right, he won't lose much time in the corner, but will gain a significant amount coming out of that corner with a slipstream. Koulios being very nice and towing his temporary teammate down the back straight there.
Yeah, and Koulios goes in. Yeah, I think Koulios, as it stands, just on sheer tires, he might have a really good shot as well at setting the fastest lap. As Coach,
Didn't get it on that one.
Didn't get it, but Kirk, on the other hand, set the fastest lap of the race with a 26.7.
And we know that is quick. Only 35 thousandths faster than Murph, who I don't think he's going to have any retaliation for that on these state of top tyres, which are fairly heavily worn now. But Koulias coming out of the pits, fresh softs, only a few seconds behind Murph in P3, who is passing Simon into turn 2 and 3. So that is one to watch. Can Koulias catch Murph on those fresh soft tyres, and can he steal the fastest lap and a couple of points as well, which will be slightly annoying for Kirk, I would imagine.
Oh, as you say, as you just mentioned that, Kirk just said another fastest lap, but yeah, we might see that change at any point, because Coach and Koulias have got really good tires as well to try and attempt to set the fastest lap. And we've seen that Koulias has got really good pace today. He has held the fastest lap at some point during this race. Exactly, yeah. He did said, I believe it was a 26.9 in this race at some point. So, I mean, I can only wonder what he'll be able to do.
I do know it would have put him on a 5th place in the red lobby. So, Koulias definitely,
it's impressive.
Yeah, not slow around here at all. You have to keep an eye on him on his, well, it's going to be a hot lap now, essentially. And I am mildly worried for our first race, Murph. That front right is not looking pretty, and he's still got 4 laps to do. These soft tyres, they shred around here, particularly that front right, so he's going to be suffering soon. And Koulias is only 2 corners behind him. Fresh softs, which he's driving like he stole them.
Ooh. He's definitely taking that NSX to its limits.
Boy.
Yeah, I think Murphy might have left his last pit stop a little bit too soon.
Yep.
He certainly won't have an easy task to keep Koulias behind until the end, considering the tire difference at the moment. We will have to see. And Bertie goes for another pit stop. Will he try to steal the fastest lap?
He has tried a couple of times this season. It's not paid off so far for him. But I would imagine that as he's thinking, there's a spin! Ziggy! He's round again!
Ziggy! At the same corner as well.
That's a position for Sarah, up to 5th. That's unfortunate for the Portugueseman. He's going to be kicking himself after that one. But that is another position that Sarah will be very helpful, very thankful for, and enjoying the extra points. Koulias cross the line. Not quite the fastest, 26.7. 2 cents off, but Coach, where did that come from? He has stolen that one on what is, I'm not going to say significantly worn, but definitely worn softs, not optimal softs. So Coach showing his raw pace and speed now that he's got soft tyres and a clear track.
That was a mighty lap from Coach, I must say. Very impressive lap from start to finish. Don't think he really put a foot wrong. It's not going to be easy to beat that lap time, but obviously Koulias and now Bertie will probably have something to say about it. They won't let him off that easily, so yeah, they still have a few laps to attempt to steal it from Coach.
I have a question.
So I guess we will have to see.
I have a question, Pedro. You're Kirk. You're in the lead. You have a significant gap to Coach in terms of track position at the moment. There are 2 points on offer for fastest lap. Do you take an extra pit stop?
Well, I think it does really depend. Seeing their gap at the moment should be around.
It's about
36 seconds.
Yeah.
I think
you're about right, and it's 18-19 seconds for a pit stop here. He has a pit stop in hand.
I mean, if he has to do it, he has to do it now.
I would agree. Yes, this is going to be... Yeah, this is the final opportunity right here. So you'll have to have...
Oh, he's going to go for it.
He is going for it.
Wow,
He's
okay.
heard us. He wants those 2 points for the fastest lap. He's going to have to perform on the final lap. So Kirk taking a cool, calm, calculated decision to go to those soft tyres. No fuel will be added here. Qualifying trim. Viper go.
Yeah, it's a bold decision from Kirk. Obviously, he can afford it considering the gap. And you can see, even though he's pitted, he's still got a comfortable gap to coach. But there's obviously the added pressure of him having to set the best lap he's done for the entirety of this event on the final lap, whilst risking not having some sort of an incident that could hamper his hopes of winning. Because as much as he's been flawless all race, we have stated multiple times, one mistake is all it takes for him to possibly lose the race win, depending on how severe the incident is, obviously.
I would agree. Looking at P3, it's under threat. Murph in that Supra, that front right tyre is not looking happy, he's looking angry. Followed by Kulos, who unfortunately picked up a half-second penalty coming onto the back straight. But I think it's a matter of time for those two. And Kirk will be starting his final lap now. I think we should go on board with him. And I hope we see the battle from Koulios as well. But if we go on board from Kirk and see what raw grip that he's got in this. Those soft tyres, end of the race.
Having a look on Koulios and Murphy at the moment, it does seem like Koulios might be going for a move onto the back straight, and he gets a better exit out of the left-hander. Will obviously have to serve a penalty. Ooh, a little bit of contact between them.
Yeah,
Koulios
serving that half-second
he's serving
penalty.
the penalty.
That's going to go down to the final lap as well, but just watching Kirk on those soft tyres goes purple in the first sector. There's going to be a fight to the end for the NSX driver and the Supra. Now it's Kirk versus the other Supra driver on just sheer raw lap time, qualifying spec. And Kirk hooking up all of the apexes. Pushing that Viper down the back straight. Hopefully he doesn't pick up a penalty there. But we're going to see a couple of battles in this final lap. Can Kirk get the final fastest lap? 2 attempts up by sector 2. Only 2 more corners to go.
1 corner to go.
Yeah, this one and the long right-hander. Well, it's more of a curve, isn't it? So Kirk.
Yeah.
Oh, Koulios making that move past Murphy. Looks like Murphy had a bit of an accident there.
Yeah, you can tell that he's really struggling for grip on those tires. Koulios, I think, just getting it done.
Kirk taking the win and the fastest lap on the final lap.
The fastest lap.
26-2.
26-2.
I don't think anyone's going to have an answer for that. But we're going to have Coach recovering after a lap 1, turn 1 incident. He's had his bad share of luck this season, particularly on lap 1 of feature races. Coming home P2, he's going to be very, very happy with that points and that position. Koulios picking up another half-second penalty. He's got to stop doing that. But taking another podium. It's been a good event for him. He's made that strategy work, and well done to the young Englishman. Followed by Murphy in P4, the Irishman, getting his maiden races out of the way and doing well. So Koulios P3, Murph P4. Badger, you take away the rest of the grid for me.
Okay, so Sarah is gonna take P5 with a bit of an well, she had a bit of an unfortunate event, an unfortunate incident during this race, but she takes home a P5. That's a really solid result, and she'll be happy with that, I'm sure. Then Ziggy in P6. Actually, Simon has crossed the line first, and so did Bertie. Then we have Ziggy in P6. Then Sparky in P7 as the last driver to cross the finish line. But in P8 and P9 we have Bertie and Simon. I think there's a lot to unravel here, Midnight, don't you think?
I think so. We saw a much wider range of strategy from a lot of the drivers than I thought we would see, to be honest. And it's not one of those, I don't think anyone chose the wrong strategy, but it played out in such interesting ways. But yeah, a lot to unravel with that, but we have to give full credit, particularly to Kirk on this one, who has had an astounding event. Hasn't quite got a Grand Slam due to Koulios taking the pole position. So I think we've seen a lot here. It's what could have been somewhat for Coach, but coming back from that first lap incident for a very, very solid P2 and a great haul of points. He's going to be very happy with that. It's going to shoot him up the driver standings, and then also Koulios nicking back that podium after his incident and spin, and not even to say in order, Murph as well, picking up some good warranted points in his very first ever Nighthawk race. But even the rest of the field, I think, have all done very, very well. I don't think we've seen a poor drive today, Pedro.
Yeah, I'd agree. Obviously, Kirk with a very dominant display in this feature race. An amazing event for him, I'd say, altogether. Unfortunate to miss out on the Grand Slam, but I'm sure he'll be happy with 2 race wins in the P2. Yeah, then Koulios. I was a bit worried when he had that incident at the exit of the left-hander that leads onto the back straight. With him having done, as you've also mentioned a few times this season, pitted without changing his tires or refueling. But he really managed to make his strategy work today, and I think he's done a very solid job, still finishing on the podium. Coach, as I've showcased before as well, his resilience and obviously his tenacity as well to adapt to these situations, and finishing P2 after everything that happens is a mighty impressive result for him. And he should be really happy with himself. I do agree that it would have been quite interesting to see if he'd be able to battle with Kirk for the win in this feature race. Then Murphy with a really good debut, I think, in our Nighthawk Racing F1 RSC Championship, getting that P4 in the feature race after being one of the only 2 drivers to take on the hard tires. But then again, even when he took them, I think he had very good pace on them. Sarah and Ziggy P5 and P6, I think I'm going to take them, we've stated a few times as well, I think their races were very similar in a way, in terms of their pace. The fact that they've also, unfortunately, had a few incidents along the way, but managed to bounce back, still get pretty decent results for themselves, and I think a really good display overall of what they can do. Then Sparky with another solid result, being the other driver who took on the hard tires and a bit of a more alternative strategy. He made it work quite nicely. Bertie, unfortunately, getting that damage in the first lap. I think he still made a valiant effort to try and recover, do some damage limitation. But yeah, I do commend his his resilience as well to try and keep going and get a good result out of this race. And Simon, once again, in a track that isn't necessarily the easiest, I think he still can be quite proud of himself, especially considering he had damage, completely front damage, for quite a few laps, and he was still managing to hold on and keep that McLaren pointing the right way. Drove a pretty decent race, I must say. So yeah, I think I can only look forward to what the next race around this very same track in reverse has in store for us.
Yeah, quite right. And it is worth saying that the stewards at the end there have given Murph not a time penalty, but a penalty point for the for the incident at the first corner. As he waited, there was no time penalty, so at least something that Murphy will not have to worry about losing positions through any sort of stewarding action. And I have to say, the only issue I saw today from Murphy whilst on that topic was perhaps going to those soft tyres a lap or two too early. But it's always a risky decision here. It happens with a lot of decisions which are on the knife edge. You wanting to go to that soft tyre to go for the fastest lap, and occasionally it comes back round and bites you, as we've seen a couple of times with drivers throughout the series, including ourselves. It's come and bit us a couple of times. But what can we say?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, what can we say? If you don't chance it, you don't get the rewards, do you? But driver of the day, I think we're going to have a quick talk about that. Okay, done. But shout outs particularly, I think, for Coach, who's had a really good drive today. Koulias has done very, very well in both races as well.
Both races, yeah. Double podium, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yeah, quite right. And I don't think anyone's had a bad race here today. You can usually point out saying, oof, that was a difficult race for them. But I've seen pluses from everyone, including like Sparky, who ran very, very highly. Couldn't see any incidents and ran very well on those hard tyres. And that's just to name just Sparky there. But all drivers today, I think, have done themselves proud. And we'll be looking forward to the next race. So, well, we're not going to go far. The next race is going to be at the same track at a slightly later time in reverse. So, I've got no excuses for not knowing the track at this point. But it is, I would say, trickier in reverse. But that's up to your individual perspective on that. But Pedro, I think it is time for us to stop waffling and go over to the podium room. So, with that in mind, I'm going to say thank you very much. Feel free to check out our YouTube.
It was a pleasure.
Exactly the same. But check out our YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram for other content. And Pedro, it's been my pleasure. I hope to see you and the rest of the community at the track, on the track, and in the videos soon. So thank you all very much. And over to the drivers.
Thank you for letting me join you, and likewise, I'm really looking forward to see what everyone has in store for the next race, and particularly what our drivers have to say after this event.
And without further delay, let's hear what they have to say.
Hi everyone, this is Coach with my thoughts for the race at Deep Forest for Nighthawk Racing. For the sprint race, I started P4. My goal was to stay tight with the pack to hopefully move up. After a couple laps, I found myself in P2 trying my darndest to get past Sarah. We got into some intense battles, which ultimately lead to us both losing a spot to Kirk. I was able to get into P2 and tried hard to catch Kirk. I pulled 0.3 within Kirk on the final lap, tried to make a move, but wasn't able to pull it off. For the feature race, it was a bit of T1 chaos. I got sent to Narnia and almost retired, but decided to turn it into a comeback challenge. I stayed out with damage and focused on fuel saving and aimed for top 5. By lap 19, I climbed up to P2 before pitting, came out P6 and kept pushing. By lap 29, strategy paid off. I was back in P2 but 36 seconds behind Kirk, final stops were on lap 37. He was still 34 seconds ahead. But on lap 44 he pitted and closed the gap to 20 seconds. Pretty sure he pitted just to grab the fastest lap for me. But after a rough start, I'll take that P2.
I think I don't know what to say about this event. Well, this round, should I say. It was a very good round. I'm very happy with the result. Obviously winning the sprint race. I got a little bit heated in the sprint race. I got 1 or 2 taps from up the rear from Koulias. And I think I maybe dashed out 1 or 2 slight little taps as well. So obviously the Viper isn't the greatest thing on the brakes, but obviously very fast in a straight line. But overall, very good sprint race. Very good battle for the first 4, 5, 6 laps as I tried to fight my way through the troublesome trio with Coach, Sarah, and Koulias. And then sprint race, obviously qualified second on the mediums. kind of upset I didn't qualify on the softs, because then maybe I could have started on pole as well and not second. But after the first stint, and I got clean there, and I wasn't really all that worried about the NSX of Kurios, when I could just try and focus on my own race and my own consistency. It all seemed to come together quite well, and in the end, and you saw the result. A very great race, a very happy race. It was unfortunate for Coach to get caught up in the first turn incident on lap 1 with Murphy, and I'm pretty sure he maybe had 1 or 2 slight incidents during the race, which obviously cost me a bit more time, which allowed me to pit with 3 laps to go, so I could really go for fastest lap as well for that extra bonus point. But yeah, it's a fantastic race, a very good round for me. Hopefully bring some of that confidence back, because you know, towards the end of last season I had quite a good run when the lobbies were combined, so hopefully I can do the same this season and start pulling together some good results in whatever lobby I'm in next week. And I say bring it on. I think my goals for next week is Pedro and Midnight, so those two better watch out, because if they're not careful, hopefully I'll have them. But thanks for everyone. It was a fantastic round, and bring on next week.